Hi everybody, it's Geordie from Geordie's Cards. Thank you so much for joining me today. I have a little something special for you today. This is a scene that was created by Isabel Cristina in collaboration with Kit and Clowder as part of the Kit and Clowder Advent of freebies. So today is day 14 of that Advent. It is December the 14th, 2022. And it is the freebie from Isabel Cristina. So to get your hands on this gorgeous little scene, you need to check out Kit and Clowder on Facebook, and you will find a link to download this little freebie. It is well worth it because how cute is this? As an added bonus, Isabel Cristina is currently offering 10% off in her online Etsy store. You need to use the code ADVENT to take advantage of that, but please do go and check out her Etsy shop if you haven't already. It is full of gorgeous images just like this, loads of fun to colour, and lots of things for Christmas, but also for every time of the year. So I urge you to go and check that out and take advantage of that 10% offer, which is ongoing currently. So use the code ADVENT for that. So for my little scene today, I decided to print this out onto some craft cardstock. I've been really inspired by online adult coloring YouTube channels recently. Most kind of the most prominent one for me, I guess, is Elm Crafts, who I discovered recently and I have been following with interest. And she's been doing a 12 days of Christmas colouring, so I've been following along, watching what she's been doing, and have been really inspired to pull out my coloured pencils and have a go at doing some kind of colouring with my coloured pencils. This is not something that I do very often, so it is quite far out of my comfort zone. But I had so much fun colouring this little scene today, and I just really enjoyed it. This video is very colouring heavy, so if you're not into that, I do understand, and I'm more than happy for you to skip right to the end, or even just to leave this video off your playlist for now if you're not really that keen. It is mostly colouring, just to forewarn you. But I just had loads of fun colouring this in, and I found it really relaxing. It's a really lovely little Christmas winter scene, so it was lots of fun to do. And I just pulled out my pencils. I have a set of Polychromos Faber Castell pencils, and I really enjoyed playing around with them today, just adding some shading where I could and doing my best to add some texture. So for my snow, I used light cobalt, turquoise and white. And I haven't shown all of the colouring because there is a lot and it does take a long time, even though I have sped this up a little bit. So I'm just showing kind of snippets of it so that you get the idea of what I am doing with each part of my colouring. So for my fox, I'm using burnt ochre and terracotta, and I'm kind of approaching this in the same way that I use my Copic markers, and that is laying in my darkest colour first and then blending out with my lightest. And what I'm trying to do with my little critters is add a layer of colour and then go back again, add some deeper shadow, and then some lighter parts again. And like for my fox here, I'm trying to add the look of fur by using some little strokes of pencil to create that kind of textured look. Again, these are kind of tips that I've picked up from watching other people colour on YouTube. And I really had a lot of fun. I'm not sure that it turned out perfectly, but I enjoyed it. And I guess that is the main thing with crafting, is just having a go and having a little bit of fun. Trying out new things as well is always good because it keeps your craft fresh and makes you kind of step out of your comfort zone, which is always a good thing, to try new things. And like I say, I really enjoyed this process today. So I am just kind of finishing off the top of my fox's head here, and then I'm going to speed through the rest of it and just skip to the end. So you can see here my fox is now complete. I added a little bit of cream to him to finish his face, And now I'm going into my little mouse here, and I'm using some warm greys. I've got the lightest warm grey. I think it's warm grey 1, 2 and 3, I believe, for my little mouse. And I'm just adding some detail onto him. Doing that same method, I start with my darkest pencil and then move to my lightest. And I do try and use a couple of coats. Now, I tend to be quite heavy-handed with pencils, and that's probably not the best way to approach it. You probably need a much lighter hand. I tend to go in a little bit too heavy to begin with, which makes it harder to blend out. I think if you're a bit lighter of hand, then it works a lot better. I am still learning though, so, you know, it's not going to be perfect, but it was a lot of fun, as I say. So I'm just finishing off the body of my mouse here, and I'm just, as I say, trying to blend everything out. I'm trying to make it look a little bit like fur. It doesn't show up so well on my mouse as it does on my fox. But I am just adding some little strokes of pencil in there to try and get that textured fur kind of look. And once I'm happy with him, I will go ahead and bring out a kind of flesh pink colour, which I'm going to use for the inside of the ears and their nose, and to try and add a bit of a rosy tint to their cheeks as well. Obviously, these critters are out in the cold and the snow, so they're going to have little rosy cheeks. So that's what I added there. I'm also adding that onto my little snowman too. And I'm doing that last, as in last on each critter that I colour, because obviously I don't want to blend over those colours with like white or lighter colours. So I'm just keeping that kind of pink colour till last and making sure that I've got everything else coloured in on the critters before I add that little bit. And you will see that from time to time I pull in my pencil sharpener like here, and I just sharpen the ends of my pencils a little bit to make sure that they're nice and pointed. This really helps to add the details into your little images, and especially for like the fur texture, it really helps to add those little lines. So now I'm going into my bear, and I've chosen kind of a more golden brown colour for him. And again, I'm laying in my darkest part first, so just adding the shadow where I think it should go, and then blending out toward a lighter colour. And you'll see that I tend to start with the heads of my critters first and then move on to the bodies. I like to section off my critters into pieces so that I don't get too overwhelmed doing one part and then trying to do the whole thing as one. I just find it easier to have little sections to colour. And again, I'm trying to add that fur detail. You will see I'm just trying to use little pencil strokes to create the image of fur. But again, you know, I need a lot of practice at this. I'm definitely not perfect, but I had fun trying and I really enjoyed it. I will say that colouring with coloured pencils is a lot slower than colouring with Copics. And it definitely gives a much different look than colouring with Copics. But I would say it's probably a bit more of a rustic look with pencils. You can see the texture, you can see the lines, you can see kind of the pencil strokes, which you don't really get with Copics because they give it a nice smooth blend. But it's lots of fun, as I say, to experiment and try different mediums in your colouring, and have a go with stuff. See what works for you. See what you enjoy using best of all. Like I say, you do have to have a bit more time on your hands to do colouring with pencils, because I did find that it took a lot longer, but it's a lovely way to sit down and relax and just kind of zone out for a little bit. So I have just finished off my bear off camera, and now I'm going on to my little bunny, who's my last little critter if you don't count that bird flying up there. And I'm using Ivory and Cinnamon for my little bunny rabbit. I wanted something a bit different from the browns that I use for my bear and the kind of orangey browns that I use for the fox. So I decided to try this colour combination. The cinnamon is a little bit pink, but I think it works quite nicely with the ivory when you blend it out, and it kind of gives the impression of a kind of like a really pale creamy coloured bunny rabbit, which is what I really liked, and I thought it worked quite nicely for this little guy, and I think he's just super cute. What I've done today with my colouring is I have put the shadows for everything on the same side. I just found that a lot easier than trying to figure out like if my light source was overhead or if it was kind of straight on. So I just did all of it so that the light source looks like it's coming in from the right hand side, so that the shadow for all of my critters and my snowman is on the left. And I just found that a lot easier. Again, I'm no expert when it comes to colouring, so I am still learning lots of things myself, and I tend to learn from watching other people on YouTube. And I just found this was the easiest way for me to work today. Obviously, again, it's something that you need to experiment for yourself and try different things, see what works, figure out where your light source is coming from, how you want to shade things yourself. But this way I just found it much easier because I didn't have to overthink anything. I could just lay the shadows on the same side for all of my critters, and I think it worked quite nicely. So you'll see off camera I went ahead and finished colouring everything else, and now I'm just going in with my white Sakura Jelly Roll pen to add some highlight details to the eyes and in a few other places as well. So you'll see my background is very bright and colourful. I chose this because I have done a sunset background with pencils before and I felt comfortable doing it. In hindsight, I would have preferred to have a darker blue sky, but it is what it is. And I think it turned out kind of nice anyway, but it probably doesn't look quite as wintry as I would have liked. I'm taking my black Sakura Glaze pen here and I'm just going over the eyes again. I really wanted to make their eyes pop because I felt they got a little bit lost under all the pencil colouring. And using these Jelly Roll pens is a good way to kind of make them pop again and stand out. So once all of the colouring was done, I took my Pour Some Stamps Inside Holiday Greetings stamp set. I think I've used this stamp set so much this Christmas. It's just perfect for everything. And I am going to go ahead and stamp that onto the upper right-hand corner of my piece here, my card base here. I'm going to heat emboss it with clear embossing ink. So I'm stamping it out with some Versafine ink. And I used my anti-static powder tool to begin with, just to make sure that everything was nicely coated and that powder was going to just stick to that sentiment. I'm using embossing powder because I just felt like I wanted to make sure that it was kind of securely stuck down, if that makes sense. Not having used pencil a great deal, I wasn't sure if my ink would kind of dry quickly on the pencil that I've got there. It's quite a thick layer of pencil, so I just wanted to make sure that it was going to stick down nicely. So I heat embossed it, and it just adds a little bit of an extra glow as well, a little bit of an extra shine. Now I'm going in with these Nuvo drops, and I decided I don't know what I was thinking. I decided I wanted to make it look a bit like a snowy sky, so I thought these Nuvo drops would do the trick. Yeah, it was a bit of an experiment, and I'm always so nervous about using these because I'm absolutely terrified of messing it up, and then like all that hard work that's gone into the colouring gets kind of ruined. But I think it turned out okay. It was a little bit of an extra detail. You definitely wouldn't need to do this, but I guess I wanted to make it look a little bit more wintry, and I felt like my sky was kind of detracting from that. So I went in with these Nuvo drops and kind of added them all over. I'm not sure if it worked greatly, but it was fun, and I enjoyed every little step that I did on this card. And it was all such a learning curve for me, just trying lots of different things that I'd never done before. So that's always good, and I'm pretty happy with how it turned out in the end. So once I decided that I had enough Nuvo drops in there, I'm just kind of adding a few little extras towards the bottom here, just to make sure that those snowflakes look like they're falling all the way down to the bottom of my scene. I then decided to pull out some Stardust Stickles, and because I felt like I hadn't messed anything up too much yet, I decided to add some glitter to everything. So I say to everything, just to my snow. So I'm going over the kind of darker parts of the snow in my scene and using that Stickles to add some shine to those parts, and also onto my little snowman as well. So basically anywhere I'd put that kind of cobalt turquoise colour, I used my Stickles to add a little bit of glitter to it as well. And yeah, kind of just to add a little bit of sparkle and shine because it's a Christmas card. And again, this isn't something that I do a lot of, so I was a bit nervous about using this, but I think it turned out okay. I am going to take my little pokey tool thing here and just kind of smear that glue around a little bit just to kind of flatten it out. I didn't want it to kind of be a raised ridge. I wanted it to look kind of seamlessly blend into the pencil that I'd done. I'm not sure that I had achieved that, but you can see there in the light the sparkle that it gives, and I think it's kind of fun. So anyway, that is my card for today. I really hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please do give it a thumbs up. Please subscribe to my channel. I'd love to see you come back again. And please feel free to leave a comment. I would love to hear from you. Thanks so much for joining me today.